Action Force. Action Force is the code name for a highly trained rapid deployment specialist mission force. They are selected from the cream of the world's fighting forces. Action Brief. To defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless organization determined to rule the world. Action Mission. To discover why Cobra forces have kidnapped an entire sleepy village, then to close down the Cobra operation.
It's Action Force against Cobra, the enemy, fighting to save the day. They will never give up. They're always there. They will always dare. Action Force.
Flints Holiday. The Action Force team are always on standby. But even Warrant Officer Flint needs a holiday sometimes, so he decided to pay his cousins a surprise visit at Pleasant Cove. When he arrived, he was worried by their unusually cold greeting. Flint found the whole family staring at the television, looking exhausted. Within 10 minutes of his arrival, they had all gone to bed.
Oh, well, I suppose I might as well go to bed too,
he thought. Next morning, however, he grew even more worried. Flint was up at 6 a.m. as usual, but the whole family had left the house before him. He knew that his cousins usually got up late. Frowning, he wandered to the open door. To his amazement, he saw streams of neighbors shuffling slowly along the pavement, all with the same glazed look on their faces. Next moment, the reason was clear. There behind them was one of Action Force's deadliest enemies, a Cobra guard. This obviously needed checking out. Flint followed the column of neighbors down to Pleasant Cove's port. There, before his horrified gaze, men, women, and children were all climbing into a Cobra submarine. Then a Cobra guard spotted him and launched a full intruder alert. Flint leapt into his car and, with a squeal of tires, raced off through the quiet streets. But as he hurtled along the coast road, 2 Cobra helicopters buzzed overhead, aiming their lasers at the car. Flint reached for his own hand laser and, steering the car with one hand, he took aim and blew an enemy helicopter clean out of the sky. The remaining Cobra pilot squeezed his firing button as Flint's car eased into his laser sights. The pilot's aim was good. The Multitron laser reached its mark. Flint's tires screeched as flames leapt from the direct pit. The car skidded across the road, smashed through the cliff face barrier, and launched out into thin air. Flint snapped open his seatbelt. Then, with a superhuman leap, he jumped from the blazing car towards the cliff face. He fell towards the rocks below until the branch of a scrawny tree caught his fall. Flint gasped as his car plunged into the sea below. Shaking with strain, he clawed his way back up the cliff, only to be met by Zartan, one of Cobra's most ruthless agents.
Pity about your car,
he said, gloating.
And an even bigger pity about you. You're going to be our latest recruit.
Flint was bundled into a car, then into the Cobra submarine. Minutes later, he found himself in an underwater world beneath a huge man-made dome on the sea floor.
Welcome, Flint,
said a familiar voice. It was Cobra Commander.
Your cousins and their neighbors are all here working for me. Watch this, my friend,
he hissed, turning to a video screen. At first, all Flint saw was a harmless news report. Then his eyes glazed over. He was under Cobra control. Back at Action Force living quarters, Breaker's television program was suddenly interrupted.
Nations of the world,
hissed Cobra Commander from the screen.
I have a weapon in my undersea city capable of killing all the Earth's land vegetation, like this.
The screen showed a jungle becoming an uninhabitable desert by means of a spectacular explosion.
Unless I am made your supreme leader within 8 hours, this will be your fate.
Hey, that's Flint in the background,
said Lady J, watching.
If they've captured Flint, they must be near Pleasant Cove. Alert all forces.
Shortly, Lady J and Breaker parachuted into Pleasant Cove. The two Action Force team members made their way up to the satellite dish compound and immobilized the guards round the empty control room. Inside, they found a relay station transmitting the evening news from a national TV station. Breaker settled in front of the screen and started to retune the controls.
Just as I thought,
he said.
Look what happens when I show only every 20th frame of the news, cutting out the frames in between.
Instantly, the calm TV newsreader disappeared and was replaced by Cobra Commander. His voice hissed instructions to the citizens of Pleasant Cove.
He's hypnotizing the whole town by subliminal suggestion,
exclaimed Breaker.
What on earth is that?
Asked Lady J.
Cobra Commander is flashing up on one frame in 20, which is too fast for your eye to see at normal speed. But your brain still adds the frames together and receives a message without you realizing,
said Breaker.
Stay here and see if you can do anything to alter the message while I call up some help,
ordered Lady J. Out in the bay, the Action Force member Shipwreck and the rest of the crew were running into opposition from Cobra Moray's pirates and Cobra's war-loving Baroness. The Baroness, scenting battle, fired a torpedo into the back of Shipwreck's jet hopper. Back in harbor, all Cobra forces were watching the fireworks of the sea battle, and Lady J realized her comrades needed support. She slipped past the distracted guards into the Cobra submarine. Once on board the empty submarine, she used her training to sail out to the battle and rescue Shipwreck, Tripwire, and the crew from their burning jet hopper.
Thanks, Lady J. It was getting a little rough,
admitted Shipwreck.
Now I need your naval expertise to help to make it a little rough for Cobra Commander in his undersea world,
replied Lady J.
That madman's rocket countdown is running out.
Working together, Shipwreck and Lady J had no trouble submerging the Cobra submarine. Using Cobra sea charts and radio call signs, they sailed it right into the undersea world without raising the Cobra alarm.
When we dock, you search out the rocket tripwire and we'll see about saving the Pleasant Cove victims,
commanded Lady J. Cobra Commander spotted the Action Force team climbing out of the submarine. His voice burst from every loudspeaker.
Attention all workers. The city is under attack. Repulse the intruders at all costs. Repeat, at all costs.
The hypnotized townsfolk beat feebly at the well-trained Action Force members.
Don't harm them,
ordered Lady J. But as she spoke, she found herself under attack from the hypnotized Flint. He was the stronger and forced Lady J back into one of the airlocks. Cobra Commander watched the combat with delight.
Flint,
he hissed over the loudspeaker.
Flood the airlock.
Flint reached for the flood lever.
They will be drowned in there,
said Cobra's deputy, Destro.
Yes, isn't that delicious?
Sneered Cobra Commander. Meanwhile, Breaker was making progress back at the satellite station with the help of Bazooka, who had flown in to provide backup. Bazooka snatched a portrait of Cobra Commander from the satellite station wall and placed it in front of a TV camera. Meanwhile, Breaker broke in on the national network to make his own news announcement.
Ignore that crazy Cobra Commander. Return to the submarine immediately.
At once, the victims came out of their trance and flocked towards the waiting submarine. In undersea control, Cobra Commander was still engrossed in the televised fight between Flint and Lady J. But suddenly the fight disappeared from the screen to be replaced by Breaker's announcement and Bazooka making faces. Cobra Commander shouted,
"Who is that fool? How dare he do that? Get him off the screen."
In a rage, he blasted the TV image with his laser. As Flint heard Cobra Commander's voice being replaced by Breaker's, the hypnotic spell started to wear off, he relaxed his grip on the airlock control. His own mind began to take over once more, but he felt dizzy as he came to his senses.
Where are we?
He stuttered.
Flint, you're back to normal.
Cried Lady J.
Come on, there's no time to lose. We have to stop Cobra launching a rocket that will reduce the world to a desert.
Down in the rocket bay, tripwire was working. Carefully, he unscrewed the magnetic bolts.
It's set to launch in 10 minutes.
He reported through his headset to Action Force Command.
I've opened the control panel, but this is a tricky one. I could disconnect the launch mechanism, but if I even touch it, the rocket's programmed to launch right now.
In the Undersea World Control Center, Cobra Commander boasted to Destro.
Action Force are powerless to stop me. The launch of my beautiful weapon is only seconds away.
Tripwire fled from the rocket bay as the countdown ended, and with Lady J and Flint, he raced towards Cobra's control room. Flint was first through the door.
Hold it right there, Cobra Commander.
You're too late, Action Force scum. The rocket blasts off right now.
Cobra Commander sneered.
I wasn't able to deactivate the rocket,
said Tripwire.
Then the world shall pay for your incompetence.
Not really. I rerouted it straight out into space instead,
said Tripwire triumphantly.
What? Well, you may have won this battle, but you won't live to tell about it,
exclaimed Cobra Commander as he pressed the Undersea World Destruct button.
If we drown, so do you, Cobra,
said Tripwire.
That's what you think, Action Force.
Cobra Commander and his henchmen stood their ground for a second, then grinned as their floor section began to lower them out of the stricken control room. Already, water was pouring into the Undersea World onto the Cobra guards.
Head for the sub,
shouted Lady J.
If the water hits the main generator,
we'll be in trouble,
finished Shipwreck as they reached the submarine. The hatches clanged shut on the submarine just as the roof of the dome finally caved in, swamping the Undersea World. All round the Cobra submarine, the surging water hammered at the vessel as Flint steered out through the wrecked main airlock.
I hope the submarine survives all this battering,
said Lady J tensely.
Do you think Cobra Commander's been drowned?
Asked Shipwreck, as at last the submarine sped away from the wreckage.
No, that poisonous villain and his crowd are bound to have saved their own skins, if nothing else,
said Flint. Back at Pleasant Cove, Flint took the Action Force team to his cousin's home.
Do you think Cobra's finished?
Asked Cousin Ted.
No, the only thing that's finished is my car and my holiday.
Oh, I forgot to tell you,
cut in Lady J.
Colonel Sharp said you could take 2 more weeks' leave.
We'd love you to stay, Flint,
said Ted.
Pleasant Cove owes Action Force everything. We'd like you to stay on and see what a real Pleasant Cove welcome is like,
said Natalie.
It's great to see you safe,
said Flint.
Thanks all the same, though, cousins, but I want to get back on duty where I can get some peace and quiet. These holidays really give me a headache.